It's funny that you mentioned identity because this is one of my favorite topics and how we move through the world, right?
Yeah.
Like how do you carry yourself? How do you see yourself? How are you perceived? All these things. So you mentioned a few different attributes of you, you know, Indian, American, female, other things like that. What do you lead with? What do you feel like as you move through the world? Which one of those do you think? And I know it changes and it's all those things, but
I think it's whichever one like serves me best in the moment. I'll be totally honest with you. Like whether that's creatively, you know, sometimes I'm tapping into a story or I'm really like when I'm trying to develop something, it's the woman side of me, you know, that's connecting with that, you know, and relating to. I don't think these things are like separate by any means, but you know, and sometimes it's the Desi side of me, sometimes it's the millennial side of me, sometimes it's the, you know, the person who was half raised in another country side of me.
Right, because you spend a lot of time back and forth between Mumbai and LA.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, in terms of creatively, it's whatever aspect I need to tap into for whatever it is I'm working on. And then honestly, like strategically too. Like,
yeah, no, that's why
it's like, you know, we exist in this business. We know the limitations of this business, and we know that there's always like a flavor of the month, you know, whether it's, you know, like we're going to champion women's stories or we're going to champion people of color,
right.
Or it's like the, you know, century of India or whatever it is. I'm like, whatever is going to get my shit made.
Sure.
Can I say shit?
Yeah, you can swear.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm more than happy to leverage the different facets of my identity to make the best work that I can and to get what I want.
Okay. No, that's the answer I was kind of looking for. Like, I mean, in terms of, you know, because I know we're all everything, or, you know, it's always present. But that said, I think we can lead with different things depending on what the industry wants. Why do you think do you think that South Asians are saddled with this, like, because sometimes people say this about Never Have I Ever, they say this about Indian matchmaking, whatever, like, oh, it doesn't represent every experience. Like, I know, it's a story, it can't, it's one person's story, and you've been very clear, even in A Suitable Girl, to say this isn't everybody's experience, this is just these three. That said, I mean, so I guess my question is more around, like, why in A Suitable Girl do you pick these three women to focus on? Are you trying to make some kind of statement?
Well, I can tell you sort of just the answer to why, you know, there doesn't appear to be more diversity even within sort of the diasporic experiences or like the Indian experience reflected in pop culture. And that's because it comes down to the same sort of gradations of privilege. Who's in the room, right? Like I'm an upper middle class North Indian, you know, person who, you know, because my parents had the opportunity to come to this country, I was raised here, you know, because my parents were upper middle class, I could pursue a career in film and television, you know, I could get in those rooms, I could pitch things that reflect my experiences.
Sure.
So when the majority of the people who get in the room are people like me, you know, who've had, you know, college education, who've had, you know, who are upper caste, are, you know, whatever, you know, all of upper middle class, all of those things, what's comes out the other side is going to be a reflection of what we know.
It equals out.
Exactly. So what I think, you know, would really facilitate a lot of that change is more people being in the room, more Muslim creators, more Dalit creators, you know, more Christian Indians, Jewish Indians, you know, like, you know, it's because there's already so few projects, you know, that kind of break through. It's going to inherently be the ones that are reflective of the people in the room. And so far, that's been people like me. Now, hopefully that's going to change.
I love that. As far as that analysis of it, because I think we do saddle ourselves with this, like, burden of we have to tell everybody's story, and even with calling ourselves South Asians and not Indians, yes, if there are diverse people in the room that are more than just Indian, then of course we should be inclusive and say South Asian. But I think it's also just become this almost like dirty word that we don't even say Indian, even though, and that's why I think it's good that it's called Indian matchmaking, because it is primarily, it's in India. But do you feel like our community does that to ourselves more than other communities do? Or we're just like, well, never have I ever, and the criticism is like, well, that's not, everybody isn't upper class. I'm like, well, actually, because we are immigrants of choice, and because 1965 and all the racism before, and that perpetuates even to this day, we are fairly homogenous. I mean, what you're seeing in Never Have I Ever is largely the experience. Why do we do that to ourselves then? To like, carry this burden of like, well, it's not inclusive enough.
I think because we've waited so long to see ourselves reflected, and it's easy for me to say from my perspective, that, oh, that's not fair and that shouldn't be this way, and why are people, why are we sort of pointing the gun at ourselves, when we're just trying to be the first. But if you're, like I get to be the first in line, right? Like we get to be the first in line to have our experiences reflected in pop culture, in the mainstream. But if the people who are who don't see themselves, but who consider themselves part of that community and who have waited just as long, if not longer, and who are facing real harm, because of lack of understanding of who they are, it's painful. I get it. I totally get it. I think it's again a thing to address systemically as opposed to point fingers at individual creators,
And I think we're guilty of that. I think we do that, like, oh, it should do this. And I'm like, you do have to understand that, like, this is the way the wave works. The majority is going to get represented first and then minorities later, which is that's just the number of stories. We're just looking at critical mass. And then there will be other things. It's in stand-up comedy, it's very similar. You have Russell Peters is the first person who broke through. His comedy is very broad. He'll be the first person to tell you that it is. It's stereotypes and it's voices, and that's going to be the thing that gets amplified first as an introduction. Then you get like an Aziz Ansari, you get a Hassan Minhaj. That's going to come later. The first breakthrough can't really be in any community. It's going to be George Lopez, and then later you'll get someone else.
And there's always exceptions to the rule, but I will say, like, also, those of us, anyone who's like the first to do something, think about who we're talking to in the room, Often, like, we have to get clearance and, from the 60-year-old white guy.
From white males,
who's sitting on top. And, like, I still feel this every day. It's like we have to sort of message things in terms that they understand just to get anything made. It's really hard to get something made in this business. It's really hard. It's nearly impossible. And, I think, like, those of us, who have had that early, been able to, like, open the door, like, we have to hold our foot in it, and so we can have more and more diversity. So I think it's just the beginning, and hopefully, like, once the first few things have proven that our stories are universal and can be understood universally, that'll increase people's imaginations too for what other stories we can tell.
You talked about your 10% of where you want to be. Where do you want to be? Like, what is the other 90%? Is it what you talked about, which is ownership and equity and those sorts of things?
Yeah, I don't want to just service things. I want to own things. So I want to do what Ava DuVernay is doing and Tyler Perry's doing, and like, I want to build an empire. I'll say it.
Yeah, no, say it. Say it. Don't spray it. Whatever. That's just what comes to mind from my childhood. Whenever people would spit on you, I'm like, I want the news, not the weather, which was always funny to me. So, okay, I got that. That makes a lot of sense. And well, let's play Never Have I Ever. Give me some of your I've nevers. What are some things that you've never done besides own your own production company like Tyler Perry? I don't mean that kind of thing yet.
I've never ridden a bike.
You've never ridden a bike?
Nope.
Okay, that's a big one.
Do not know how to ride a bike.
Okay. Was that just too much time going back and forth between cities, never got around to it, or?
It's just, I have Indian immigrant parents. Like, they're not going to teach me how to ride a bike. I'm like
okay, but even in Mumbai, because I feel like there are a lot of people ride bikes there.
No.
Or at least motorbikes.
Never happened for me.
Okay.
Never learned how to ride a bike, so I've never ridden a bike.
Okay.
I've never eaten meat.
Never eaten meat, okay.
I've been vegetarian my whole life.
So I'm going to be really white and be like, not even fish?
Not even fish.
Right, it's like during Ramadan, we're like, not even water, not even water.
Not even water.
Yeah, right, so yes, exactly.
What else have I never done? I mean, there's a million places in the world I've never been.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. But is there like a large swath of the world where you've never been? Like you've been to Europe, you've been to Asia, obviously, whatever.
Yeah, I haven't done much South America, which is a little shameful considering my husband is Brazilian.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I don't know if it's shameful, but it's surprising.
It's surprising. Well, we have family there now, so that's like very high on the list of priorities is to get my kids there and for me to go meet,
Do they speak Portuguese, your kids?
They do. Oh, my kids, no.
Yeah, okay.
I'm trying to get them to learn Hindi.
No, I know Brazilians do. But
yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's what we have the guests in here to confirm
right.
whether, which countries speak which language.
My kids do not yet speak Portuguese. A few phrases.
Okay.
But they are learning how to speak Hindi.
They are learning to speak Hindi.
They are.
Okay, that's awesome. You're
So,
teaching this?
Me personally, no.
Okay.
It is being taught to them by my mother.
Okay.
And Zoom Hindi classes.
Oh, nice. My mom is doing the same thing for my son.
Oh, nice.
So she's teaching him. He's 1.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's...
Good time to start.
Yeah, absolutely. They absorb a lot of it.
Yeah.
So
The funny thing is, like,
Sorry.
I would want my mom to speak, to speak to them only in Hindi.
Right.
But she's not used to that. So she lived in this country since she was 17. So
Yeah.
she's like not used to, she knows Hindi obviously fluently and speaks it
Yeah.
all the time, but she's used to speaking in English. So
Yeah.
she has to like remind herself to speak in Hindi to the kids.
I know. That's
Yeah.
my mom's the same way. She
Yeah.
came here in 1970.
Yeah.
And she came here before my dad did. So
Oh yeah,
speaking of
interesting.
female empowerment, yeah, she went back, married him. It was a love marriage
Oh, interesting.
in 1972. And then we just celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary.
Oh, that's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. I know. It was a really, really big deal, really cool thing to be able to do. So to be able to live to see that.